Good morning, and good to be with you on this Saturday morning. It's May 30th. Tomorrow's Pentecost Sunday, and just that glorious reminder of the giving, the sending, really, is the word Jesus used, talking about it, the sending of the Holy Spirit, a total change in his ministry that had been seemingly limited in people's lives in the Old Testament, but now available to us all. That show and tell this morning is this little rock. It is it's a piece of coal, actually. I don't know if they classify as a rock or not. I'm sure they do. I can't remember where I got it from. I've picked up little rocks along the way as reminders, and that's how good it did. I can't remember where I got it, but it did remind me that diamonds come from such things, and so on. Here, Sue painted for me the verse, "Let endurance have its perfect work, its perfect result." Let endurance have its perfect result. That because it's the pressure on coal. We all know this, that creates a diamond, and standing up under the pressure that comes our way, the need for endurance. Let endurance do its work in us, forming us, shaping us, allowing God's hand to do its work in us. So, I have a number of different rocks. A lot of some I remember where I got them, why I picked them up. I may have just picked that up as a reminder about what pressure does to coal. I know I have a huge one around the house here somewhere. Actually, it was at my mom and dad's forever. We went out when I was a kid, camped at the Grand Teton National Park. Loved it. And we picked up a huge rock. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. Huge rock. It's probably 10 pounds. And wrote on there Grand Teton National Park. It's beautiful. So in case some of you have feared I've lost my rocks, actually, I still have some. So we're good. Today's meditation, Joshua 1:9, is the verse that's mentioned. Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. I know a lot of people have committed that one to memory over the years, about being strong and courageous in verse 8 as well. And we're not strong and courageous in our own strength. We're strong and courageous because the Lord our God goes with us wherever we go. Someone once said attitude is the difference between an adventure and an ordeal. So change your attitude and have a better life, right? If you're like me, you're thinking, right, easier said than done. Consider this. We can control our attitudes by choosing where we put our hope. If you're the kind of person who sees everything as an ordeal instead of an adventure, what you need is a big dose of hope. Hope and trust always travel together. Hoping without trust is just a wish. When my son Adam was learning to fly our plane and I'd give him the controls in the co-pilot seat, you can bet that I was wondering if this would end up being an ordeal or an adventure. I knew he was a trustworthy guy and a great pilot, so instead of just hoping, I had my parachute ready. I leaned over, then said to Adam, "You got this." When you're standing between an ordeal and an adventure, find someone you trust to go with you and choose hope along the way. Hope can turn a crisis into a chance to grow. It can change a heated argument into an opportunity for deep connection. When we approach our days with hope, we loosen our white-knuckled grip and see something beautiful on the other side. We can turn an ordeal into an adventure. With someone we can trust and hope as our perspective, we'll find adventures where we used to see crises. God sent his son into the world with a message for us. Jesus was someone we could put our trust in. He was someone who could help us when we needed more help than we could muster ourselves. When things go sideways on you, find your way back to Jesus. If you listen closely enough in the chaos, I wouldn't be surprised if you hear the words, "You got this," whispered to you. Closing question is, what are you facing right now where God might be whispering to you, "You got this"? Again, interesting days to be asked such questions. But as I read this, I could not help but think of my travels I've gotten to do, going to places I'd never been before, places that may not have been so safe, but I trusted the person on the other end who was going to meet me at the airport, who was going to make sure I was taken care of. And that made that traveling possible. Trusting the people sitting in the cockpit of the airplane that I flew enabled me to have the adventures that I had. So I can't even remember what it was. Sue and I were talking about just the other day, and that was a response. That was some adventure, wasn't it? It was hard. I can't even remember what it was now, but it was hard. It was difficult. And yet on this end of things, we can look at it as an adventure. Places we went and things we were able to do that were difficult, and yet we went through them. That's what faith is for, folks. That's what the life of faith is about. Not by sight, but by faith. We walk with the one we trust, the Good Shepherd, who's laid down his life for us, the God who is always with us, never leaves us, never deserts us, the God who has his hands on our lives. We trust him, and when we trust him, even the most difficult of things can be an adventure as opposed to a crisis. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all of your ways, acknowledge him. He'll direct your paths. I know a lot of people like those verses, and they're nice to say, but to live them out takes faith. To really live them out takes faith. I pray your faith will be strong today and every day as we go through whatever it is the Lord asks us to go through.